that's the thing about the red tie community. It's about relationships and experiences. And we've had a lot of fun relational experiences, whether it's our dancing on Facebook, our little GIF battles, or whatnot. But that's why you're on the show today. Greetings, red tie community. It's the bald guy in the red tie, your favorite bald-headed red tie wearing show host and realtor extraordinaire with somebody very special today. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I have Miss Jenny Gollogly. That's a fun name to say.
It is a fun name to say.
Yeah.
It gets messed up so much.
What do you usually get called?
Usually it's Gollogly. Yeah. Yeah.
You should do something special since Halloween's coming up, like, ooh, Gollogly.
I've actually never thought of that.
Yeah. You're welcome. See, branding,
Thanks.
marketing specialist. That's what I do.
For
It
sure.
flows out of me. But ladies and gentlemen, the red tie community really is about the relationships and experiences. And this young lady has been in my life for at least a decade now. And it's been a lot of fun experiences. So I wanted to have her on the show to share some of these wonderful stories because real estate is a lot more fun when there are stories involved. That's what I've come to find out.
I've got lots of stories.
Right?
It's been 15 years, but who's counting?
Oh, gee. Has it been 15?
Almost, yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Wow, I feel old. So I originally met you through Brian because Brian, your husband, went with my wife to school since they're like, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old?
Yeah, I think they were in like 6th grade or something like that.
Yeah, and I remember when I first started dating Jen that, Brian came around. He's like, I got to make sure this guy's okay. So I think I passed the test, I hope.
I mean, I don't know if you passed it, but would it have really mattered?
Not really.
Okay.
Well, I guess I did sell you guys a house, so he must like me on some level.
Or he doesn't. Every time he has to clean the pool, he's like, why did we get this house?
That was an awesome house, though.
It's still an awesome house.
I know. I always speak in past tense.
Yeah. I'm still living there, so apparently it was a great house, yeah.
Well, so how did you meet Brian?
I met Brian. I was a single mom. I was 18 years old, and my friend called me one day and said, hey, I'm talking to this Coast Guard guy, and he's really cute, but I'm the only girl over here. Do you want to come over? And I said, no, I have a baby. I'm not about that. I'm going to go home. And she said, please, just 5 minutes. So I stopped by, and I'm making a big production about the fact that I have a baby, and I'm getting out the baby food and the bottles and the diapers and hoping that they want me to leave.
Right.
And all of a sudden, he starts screaming.
Brian?
No, the baby.
Or Brian.
Yeah, no. But, so all of a sudden, he just picked up the baby, and I'm making him a bottle, trying to get all of his stuff back in his bag real quick, and baby goes silent. And I panic. And I turn and look, and he's just curled up on Brian's chest at 6 months old, and Brian's just rocking him. And, yeah, so.
So instant love, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I couldn't really let him go after that, so.
It's that deep man voice. He probably has one of the deepest voices that I've ever heard. He's like, hi, I'm Brian.
Yeah, little babies love him. Older
Yeah.
babies, not so much.
No.
He's scary, yeah.
Well, he's got that big rumbling. He's got a very thunderous voice.
Yes, he does.
That's so cool. So you guys just started dating after that, and then?
Well, that was on August 20th, and then on August 29th, Hurricane Katrina hit. So we had known each other for 9 days, and he got recalled. We had gone on our first date 2 days before the hurricane hit. And so, I mean, his life when he wasn't doing, search and rescue was trying to make sure that, I was okay and that the baby was okay and that we had everything we needed. So, yeah, I mean, we pretty much figured if we can get through that, we can get through anything. So we got married 3 months later.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize it was that quick.
Yeah, and it's been almost 15 years, so.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, you talked about a very natural disaster, one of the biggest ones that has hit our country kind of thing. I myself have never been in a hurricane, and, Dorian just kind of went through last week or whatnot. What is it like going through a hurricane?
Well, living in a region where hurricanes hit often.
And this was where?
This was in Gulfport, Mississippi.
Okay.
So you're constantly preparing for hurricanes that never come. Mm-hmm. And I remember woke up at 6 a.m. My dad was babysitting, and, he said, you got to get to a Walmart, get formula, get diapers, get baby food. And here I am, I had $40. I'm in line at Walmart getting whatever I can with $40, which isn't much, can of formula, pack of diapers. And yeah, I think I stood in line for about 3 hours just to get that. Yeah. And, that's pretty typical. So I didn't think anything of it until it just started getting more and more severe. And we were seeing, but there was only about 2 days to prepare for it. And yeah, I think it was scary when it actually happened. And I had gone through so many small storms before that I didn't think it was that big of a deal. And not only did I have myself going through that Cat 5 hurricane hitting, which contrary to popular belief, the eye wall hit Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, not New Orleans. So it was about 20 miles away from where I was at the shelter. And not only was I experiencing that, but then I had to protect, this precious little baby who was 6 months old at the time.
Wow.
And that was the first real experience of motherhood that was just like, I'm going to die for my son. And
those motherly instincts just kicked in like that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, a couple months before I was going through a rough time, and I basically told myself that, I would starve so that he would never have to go hungry. And I lived to that, and I still do to this day, but that it was put to the test a couple times. And obviously I didn't starve, but I went hungry, and it's just one of those things. But yeah, going through the hurricane was one of the most terrifying experiences while you're holding your child.
Wow. And so, what is it like? Does it sound like a train just running over you, or is it water flooding up through the floor? Or?
Well, for me, I was actually in my old high school that they had opened up as a Red Cross shelter, and I was sitting in the hallway. I was with my dad and neighbors, and we were one of the lucky families that got a classroom instead of just having to camp out in the hallway. But about, I want to say around 3 a.m., things started getting really bad. And so they moved us out into the hallway, and you couldn't really see anything because it was dark. But then the lightning would come, and you would just see, trees from the rain had come down for so long. And then the wind just knocked the trees over because they were saturated from all the rain. And the noises, and you were just hearing car windows blowing out left and right.
Jeez, wow.
And yeah, so we actually heard the air conditioner unit get sucked up, like the outside unit got blown off of the roof and created kind of a vacuum into the classroom. So we were on the other side of that door, and you could just hear, the wind and the pressure, everything.
That is terrifying.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
No, and I think for a long time I had to kind of detach myself from that because everyone else went through it too. And I think it really hit me when we moved to California that no one else around me had been through what I went through. And, when I was in Gulfport, it's like everyone that I knew had that experience or something similar. Some had so much worse experiences than I did. So it was just kind of that silent, unspoken thing that you all went through it. Your town was obliterated. It looked like a bomb went off. All buildings were gone.
Like your home, did it get destroyed?
I was actually in between homes, and Garrett and I were couch surfing. So, yeah. So we, in a sense, all I had was what was in the back of my car anyway. So after that, there was nowhere to really go because everyone that I knew had lost stuff. So trying to find housing and all of that was pretty terrifying.
What did you do?
Brian and I were lucky enough that we ended up finding a house because his apartment, he was sharing apartment with a bunch of coasties, and the station was completely obliterated. It was gone. It was a roof and steel beams, and that was it. So his apartment got condemned because he was the only building that was a 2-story building. All the other ones were 3-story buildings, and not one 3rd story survived.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was actually in the apartment complex during the hurricane riding it out.
Oh, wow.
Because he wasn't on duty at that point. Yeah.
Well, then I imagine he's immediately dispatched to
Oh,
go
yeah.
and, I mean, geez, wow.
Yeah. So he was doing search and rescue for, I don't know, I think he was doing search and rescue for 5 days, or maybe only 3 days. And then, it becomes recovery at that point. But yeah.
And what is that like with the sense of a community that comes together? Because, like you said, everybody's in the same boat. You just experienced something horrific. And then now it's like, okay, the storm's passed. Now what?
The biggest sense of community I've ever felt was after the hurricane.
Really?
We had people, Brian had a grill, and people had food in their freezer. So they brought all the food over, and it's just kind of, you took what you needed, and everyone came together because there were people, we didn't have power and water for 3 weeks.
Wow.
So that was rough with a 6-month-old, and,
Yeah.
100 degrees and humidity through the roof and no water, no power. So
That sounds miserable.
it wasn't fun, but
But I can totally
everyone
see
was going
Brian at
through
the
it.
barbecue because he is the barbecue
He
master.
really is. Yeah. He was just, he was just going, and, he was in his element doing his thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
He loves being behind the grill.
he really does.
Yeah.
And he's good at it too.
Yeah, he is. Very good.
Yeah.
I've had some incredible meals over your guys' house. So the community comes together and just like, but if nobody has anything, I mean, everybody just kind of brings whatever they had. But I mean, how did the rebuilding process go? I mean, like, how long was it after that event happened that you're like, okay, I got to get somewhere else? Or did you stay around there for a while?
No, actually, after I think it was about 2 weeks, Brian was able to drive about an hour away to Alabama. One of the gas stations had opened, and he didn't have any. The only thing he had was Arizona iced tea jugs that he emptied out, and he was collecting these from the apartment complex. And he drives over with these Arizona iced tea jugs, and he fills up gas so that we can fill our cars with gas and get to Tennessee. And I went and stayed with my aunt for about a week, and then power came back on, and I had to get back to work. So,
Wow.
yeah.
So literally, you meet the love of your life. A week later, a hurricane hits, and you get to see him in action, see what he's made of, kind of thing. And obviously, I think tough times like that kind of show people's true character and colors and stuff like that. So
Definitely, yeah.
No wonder you guys fell in love.
I mean, I guess it was destiny, or
I would say
something
so.
like that. Yeah.
If you guys can withstand a hurricane, I think you can withstand just about anything.
That's what we thought, and so far, so good.
So what brought you out to California?
Brian got transferred in the Coast Guard, and he got stationed in San Diego. And him being from Temecula, and his parents lived in Temecula, and, has some family out here. So we decided to come out here.
That was cool. And about this time, I think that's when you guys came onto our radar with my wife and you guys. So we all got to hang out together and stuff like that. And then your mom came out, and that was fun.
Yes.
So for those who don't know Jenny's mom, she is amazing. Her name's, can we say her name?
Go for it.
Okay, Miss Susie is unlike any other personality I've ever met. And so I've done hundreds of transactions with people, but Susie, I really wish she would have got her real estate license because, man, she is, how would you describe her?
She knows what she wants.
A force of
that's for
nature.
sure. She's definitely a force of nature. Yes.
She is.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I remember there was some kind of contract, and she usually people just go, okay, what's the paperwork say, and I'll explain it and stuff like that. She would read it line by line and then send it to like lawyers and attorneys and then send it back and then, okay, I don't agree with this one paragraph right here. I'm like, well, that's kind of how they're written, so I don't know what to tell you. And she did not like California.
It's a completely different process
contracts.
in
Yeah.
Mississippi. I mean, you don't do the gradual, closing. You sit down at the end and you have a stack of papers, that's and you go through and you sign every single one, and they go over it with you. So it's a little bit different, and it was a new experience, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. But man, she is quite a real estate tycoon in her own right, though. I mean, as far as buying
She
properties,
is,
selling
yeah.
properties, I mean, she's definitely one of my best clients. And so tell her to come back out in California.
Oh, she will not.
No?
No.
She hates it?
She did come to visit a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, you missed out on that. It was fun.
Oh, thanks for the invite.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, so now you are on your own path of career and stuff like that. So tell us about the psychology world.
Well, I'm going to school for psychology. End goal is to get my doctorate in psychology. Um, yeah, so it's just always been something that I've enjoyed. It was interesting to me. And when I was in high school and that big push of, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, two things that I really enjoy are writing and psychology. And I didn't think that I could do anything with writing as a career. So I always just thought I would go with psychology. And then life happened. And, I had my son, and then the hurricane hit, and then I got married, and then life goes on. And I just started back about 3 years ago. So
You've been hitting the books hard,
yeah.
Like we were all so close and stuff like that, but then it's like every time, oh no, I'm busy, I'm studying. It's like, oh, okay, well, we'll just be over here doing non-study stuff, I guess.
Yeah. I'm like, text me next time, maybe. Okay, maybe in 3 years. I don't know.
Maybe that was a psychology trick that you're doing on us.
Maybe.
So what are you learning about psychology? Because I've always been drawn to that world too. Like I really enjoy the whole psychological stuff. So
I think it's really interesting to watch and learn. I've always been a people watcher, but then really learning what makes people tick, because there are just some really fascinating people out there. And then, it's a spectrum of things. But really, I decided just to go for it. And I started learning so much about autism, and my son has high functioning autism. So it kind of became a window into his world and how, his little brain works. So that it was kind of a double bonus, I guess. And my end goal is to be a child psychologist, because there's such a lack of anyone in the area that can not only do child psychology but for autism, and really truly specialized.
yeah.
I mean, you get a lot of blanket, that they have their psychology degree, or they're a marriage and family therapist. But just to really dig into it, I mean, there's so many facets of childhood development and autism and neurological disorders. And it just, you have to really be specialized, I think. So.
And can you kind of pull back the curtain on autism and stuff like that? Because that's something that I haven't experienced firsthand and things, but it's become such a topic over in our culture over the past maybe 5 to 10 years, especially, I would say. Like it's becoming more on the forefront of conversations. And I mean, this is not something that just developed overnight. This has probably been going on for hundreds of years, right?
Yeah.
But they didn't have a label for it, or?
Well, I mean, if you think back 100 years ago, you had the weird kid, or, you had the slow kid, or, even they just didn't know as much as they do now. And even now there's so much that they don't know. But in my son's instance, and, autism is a spectrum. You have your low functioning end, your high functioning end, and everything in between. But I have yet to talk to a parent that has said, my child is like this to a T. It just doesn't happen, because there's so many. You see the puzzle piece for autism, and it's each kid is a different piece of that puzzle.
Is that the meaning behind that symbol? I didn't know that.
Yeah, because it's just so different. You're never going to find two puzzle pieces that are exactly the same.
So there's not a textbook diagnosis that will cover everything, kind of thing. Got
And
it.
it is really difficult to get a diagnosis. I mean, we struggled for years to get him a diagnosis. And we didn't even know what was going on. We just knew that he was struggling with something. And he is very smart. He's off the charts for his, IQ and analytical thinking, but he's very literal. So, back when he was younger, he could kind of fit in better. And then as he got into 5th, 6th, 7th grade, then it's, oh, well, you can't sit with us because you're not wearing what we want you to wear. And that might be a joke, but he thought it was, it was, he can't sit there, period. Or, oh, no, you can't do this unless,
Wow.
So the literal side of it and breaking into what's kids being kids and what's okay and what's not, that's difficult. And really, as he goes, into middle school and high school, that's where you're starting to see a divide, and you notice the things and you look back and you think, well, if only I would have done this different, or if only I would have known, or, and that'll just get you every time, I think.
It almost becomes this loop, right? Like, because you start analyzing all your past experiences and like how you raised them and things like that, and I can see how that one could fall into that.
Yeah, I think Facebook memories might be the worst, because just today I was going through and I was reading something that I was frustrated, because I spent so much time trying to tell him to get dressed and get him in the car. And then by the time I got to school, I literally had to drag him out of the car and take him in, to preschool when he's 4 years old. Well, looking back on that, now I know he was on, sensory overload, and he just couldn't process it. So his whole way to, kind of stop that mindset was just to shut down and say no and cry. So looking back on it, should I have drug him out of the car that day? Probably not, and I probably wouldn't have. But as a frustrated, mother, my husband was on a boat and I was just trying to make it work.
Right.
So, you have the hindsight thing where you really have to learn not to kick yourself.
Yeah.
So.
And would you say a lot of parents of autistic children probably do that? They beat themselves up too much?
I think so. I was in a support group for a while, and it was I then went into a virtual support group, and it was a little bit better because I could find more. There was just,
Larger
more
network.
It was, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the general consensus. Yeah, anytime, no parent wants to see their kids struggling or something, going on with their kids.
Yeah.
So.
And so I do know someone that has autism, and it was another family friend of ours, and so it was tough going through the high school years and stuff like that. But he, like you're saying, it's almost like genius level analytical thought, because now he's like a game developer and stuff like that. And so he found his niche. Like, he was one of those kids growing up that, within an hour he can master a video game or whatever. Like, I don't understand that because I'm not a video game player and things like that. But I hear a common theme amongst autism is that they're almost kind of like borderline geniuses because they're just using a different part of the brain. Is that right?
I don't know if it's so much a different part of the brain, but I know that in my son's case, he's got a lot of that frontal lobe. He also has a TBI, which he just got a couple years ago. So
what's TBI mean?
A traumatic brain injury.
Okay.
That's, yeah. So, but part of that was the impulsiveness from the autism, where you don't kind of slow down and think things through. And it ended up with him getting a brain injury. So we're also fighting that. So it's difficult for me to be able to separate,
Right.
certain things. But I have read that they're starting to hire these, younger kids coming out of high school that, have autism, but also focus on, like you said, the technical stuff. And because they'll grab a hold of something and they fixate on it and they don't stop until it's done. So, I mean, I don't think I've met a child that, had the autism diagnosis that wasn't that way, where they have their certain things that are just theirs and they grab a hold of it and that's all they want to do. Their whole life becomes about that. So, yeah.
Wow. And so what things in his world does he fixate on?
Well, sports. Basketball was huge. But for him, one of his fixations is fitting in and being the cool kid, which is kind of it's anti everything that you hear, because being social and wanting to be social and have that aspect, it just usually doesn't happen. So the fact that that's one of the things that he craves and fixates on, then, that's why it was so difficult for us to get him a diagnosis and get him help and figure out what was really going on. But yeah, I think that's in sports, any football game that comes on, any basketball game that comes on. I mean, he can tell you who was number, 6 on the Trojans in 2007,
So his memory is phenomenal.
Numbers is his thing. Yeah.
Interesting. So is he really good at math?
Oh, yeah.
And then not so good on writing?
No, writing isn't his thing. Reading isn't his thing, but numbers all day long.
Because I find, and this is just my own observation analysis kind of thing, but it seems like the people that are really good with, say, writing or whatever are typically not so good on the mathematics and stuff. And I say that because I'm primarily like that. I'm great at writing and all that kind of stuff, but as far as the numbers and math, not so much.
Yeah.
Are you the same way? Because you're an amazing writer.
I hate math. I can do well at math, but I don't like to. I have to
enjoy it. Yeah.
Well, I have to apply more of myself, I think, to really. I would never just do math because I wanted to. I'll sit down and write all day long, and I love to write.
So let's switch gears and let's talk about writing because, so a few years back, you actually came out with a blog called Candid Mama Chronicles.
Yep,
was that what it was?
That's what it was.
And hilarious, amazingly hilarious. Like you truly have a gift of humor, and you have this like, is it a dry sarcasm? But,
no, me?
Yeah, but the way that, because it's hard to write humor, for a lot of people.
Is it?
Yeah, but it pours out of your pores, literally. I mean, it's pretty amazing. And so, do you have any new blogs coming out, or?
I every once in a while will write something, but I don't know. Most of my writing is for school, which, end of the day, and my brain is mush, and I don't even know what day it is most days to even write about what happened that day. But yeah, I here and there I still add some stuff to it.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
You'd write a book. I mean, not like you don't have 50 other things on your plate, but
I'll
throw that one as a cherry on top.
Add that one to the list.
Yeah. Do you still have the website up?
Yeah.
Is it up?
Yeah. Well, someone bought the domain name for a year.
Did I not pay for it again?
No, you didn't.
I thought I had an auto renew.
No, it wouldn't let me get the domain.
Okay.
Someone else snatched it up.
Well, we got to
Or maybe you still own it.
Yeah, maybe you got to pay me royalties. Capitalist.
Yeah. Well, 10 years later.
Yeah, jeez. Yeah. Damn it. Well, we got to find out that.
You should boost that for me.
And
maybe I'll actually start writing.
Yeah, because your writing needs to get out into the world because it is hilarious.
Blogging is huge now. We can make some good money off of this.
You were doing it before it was cool.
I was. Yeah. What do they say? Like, imitation is the most sincere form of flattery.
Right.
No. That always annoyed me.
Yeah. Well, so you're a creative writer that is hilarious. You are a mother. You are on the psychology path. You have a wonderful husband. You survived a hurricane. What's coming next in Jenny's life?
I've got a daughter who's in middle school. I've got another daughter who's in first grade, and my son is now in high school. So that keeps me busy in and of itself.
I know.
Yeah. School is what's coming up for the next several years, I think, until I just get it all done.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is there an end date to this? 2025? Is that when you're going to be Dr. Jenny?
I don't put dates on anything anymore.
Just whenever it gets done, huh?
It's going to get done.
Yeah.
Yeah. I stopped to think about it one time, and it just got way too overwhelming when I realized how long it was going to take me, because I was starting from the very beginning. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Well, you eat an elephant one spoon at a time?
I think to myself, I could be a doctor right now. That would be nice.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, you're on that path. And I think it's amazing that you're going to have this niche that you're going to go into because, like you said, I think there is a need for it culturally in society, that we definitely need someone that can understand kids on that level. So, and maybe I'm going to predict this, but you are going to be one of the best doctors at it, and then you're going to be able to write about it, and your writing is going to touch a lot of families. That's my prediction.
Did my husband call you?
Maybe. Why, did he say the same thing?
He tells me that all the time. Write a book.
Yeah.
Write a book. That's how you're going to help everyone, is to write a book.
But, well, your writing is very engaging, because I think you write about common themes, but then you have this ability to shine that light on, and that's what a great artist does, especially a writer, is that, okay, here's the mundane things of life, but let's look at this little slice of it right here, and then you make it hilarious, and people go, I do that same exact thing. And so, I don't know, maybe you can kind of help with your words there.
Yeah.
In that world.
Maybe. We'll have to see. Maybe a book way down the line.
Come on, I wrote my first book by 25. Come on, get on it. Hurry up.
Listen, overachiever. No one asked you.
Just had to do a selfish, shameless plug for my book, The Stare, available on Amazon.com.
I've read it once or twice.
Twice? I haven't even read it once.
No, actually, I thought it was better the second time around.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what's interesting is I'll read my book as a 38-year-old man now, and it's really interesting to reread it with different perspectives and stuff like that. And so I'm really glad that I wrote about that segment of my life, because it was kind of the darkest period of my life. And to read it back now and to feel safe that, hey, you made it through and you're okay now. Because when I was writing it, I was still going through it.
Yeah.
And my whole purpose of writing it, because I want to be on Oprah and jump on her couch. People think I'm joking about that. That was all. I wanted to be Tom Cruise jumping on her couch.
Man, sorry that didn't pan out. Now the Oprah show is gone.
My dreams are crushed.
Yeah.
But now I have my own show. Take that, Oprah.
Yeah, Oprah. Jeez.
I mean, I got a studio in Murrieta, California. What more could I possibly want?
Maybe we could get you on Ellen, and you could dance.
Ooh. So speaking of dance-offs, I don't know how this started between us, but we just started randomly sending each other on our Facebook pages the most corniest dances. If there's these GIFs or memes and somebody's doing the cha-cha or whatever it is in the most obnoxious way possible, like, oh, Jenny needs this on her page. And so I'll send that to you. And so now it's just battle back and forth.
I don't even know how that started, but it's been going on for years. And anytime I see something, I'm like, this one's going to John.
Yeah, and the more absurd, the better. So it's just it's a good time. And that's what I love about the Red Tie community, and that you're a part of it, is that it is about those relationships and experiences that we get to have together. And I feel so fortunate to be in the place that I'm at in life with having this community. Because when I came down here to Temecula, I had absolutely nothing. Literally zero. And so in the past 15 years to have these relationships and friendships, it means a lot to me. So thank you for being a part of the Red Tie community.
Oh, thanks for finally inviting me into your community. Known you for 15 years, bought a house from you. Now I'm finally part of your community. Thanks.
Well, so I agree. It took a while to get you on the show, but you're here, and I have gifts. Like any good show host, like Oprah, Ellen DeGeneres.
You get a gift, and you... Do I finally get...
You finally get...
Oh, my goodness.
You get a ball guy red tie, not a voodoo doll.
Oh.
Not a chew toy.
Darn.
Not a doll, an action figure.
Oh, it's an action figure?
It makes me feel better knowing that it's an action figure. So there you go.
You know my daughter's going to steal this, right?
Or your dog is going to chew on it.
Yeah, probably.
And then you get your very own red tie cup.
Yes.
These were made by the crafty little fig who was on our show a couple of months ago.
Awesome.
And you get a cup full of stickers. So how's that for...
I mean, it's not a brand new car, Oprah, but thanks.
You get a doll. You get a doll. Everybody gets a doll.
I've wanted one of these since I bought a house from you 5 years ago.
Well, you finally got one.
Thanks.
Little miniature ball guy red ties, so.
Thanks. Awesome.
Yeah, I love it when people are like, oh, cool, I've been waiting for this my entire life. And then I'll go to the house a couple weeks later, and it's like...
ripped to shreds.
Yeah, it's been stepped on. I'm like, wow. Literally the pincushion.
I like take it on adventures and stuff.
Yeah.
I have such an eventful life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I had a client do that, or another Red Tie community member, but she would take it on vacations with her to Canada and Alaska and stuff like that, and she would take pictures of it, like, next to the signs. And so I felt like I was there in spirit.
I should send this to my mom and have her go crazy.
I'll give you another one. I'll give you another one.
You should just send it to her. She would be so happy.
What are those things that the kids do in school? Flat Stanleys? Have you heard of this?
Yeah, where they have to mail
it somewhere else and you take pictures with it. Like, that's kind of what it's become.
Yeah, you should do that.
Yeah.
My mom lives like in the country, in the middle of nowhere, on 7 acres. So
it'd be like, here's the ball guy red tie in a field. Here's another field.
No, she goes paddle boarding and.
Your mom's got a very active life. She's awesome.
She's got a lot going on. Yeah. So.
I miss her. Susie, I miss you. Come back to California, or when you come back, just let me know so I can give you a ball guy red tie doll.
There you go.
Well, any final thoughts you'd like to share with the Red Tie Community Show?
I don't think so.
Did the cameras disappear as quickly as I said that they would?
No, that one right there is staring me in the face.
It's actually staring into your soul, but, we'll call it your face, so.
I know. That's why you had to do the white balance so bright, because it was so dark.
Hey, we all have lights inside. Our hearts right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Jenny, thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being in our life. Thank you for buying a house. Thanks for being on the Red Tie Community Show. It's an honor and a privilege to know you, seriously. And I will keep dancing with you on Facebook as long as you'll have us.
We should have done a dance challenge.
Ooh. We can edit this.
Can we?
Yeah, so we might have to go outside and do it.
I think we should.
Okay.
For real?
I'm serious. So you just stuck your foot in your mouth. So here's our dance-off. Check it out.
Do the two-step, then cowboy boogie. Grab a sweetheart and spin out with him. Do the hold down and get into it. Take it to the left now and dip with it. Don't throw down, take a sip with it.
I think she wins, ladies and gentlemen.
It's simple, you can do it.
The Dirt South.
Slide to the left.
Wow, I didn't realize you had the moves like that. Moves like Jagger, huh?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think you won that one.
I'm pretty sure I did. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we'll give you a point for that. But next time you're on the show with your mom, we'll have a dance-off. So
my mom will win for sure.
Yeah. She got some mad moves.
She really does.
All right. Well, I'm exhausted. Dancing tires me out, but I think I've been showing up today. But maybe on the next episode, we'll go at it again. And that's it for this episode of the Red Tie Community Show with Jenny Gollogly and the ball guy in the red tie saying, see you in escrow. Bye.
Bye.